Om Narayan. Yeah, in today's talk, we shall discuss Vidya Swarup. The topic is Vidya Swabhavam. What is avidya? What is vidya? Avidya is simply misunderstanding. What is one taken to be something different. Now the misunderstanding itself means a certain standpoint. See, what is misunderstanding? See, as a common man, there is something, there is a fact. If you look at the fact as it is, you just understand it. You are misunderstanding. It only means that you are misunderstanding means that you are looking at it from an angle, from a distance where it does not appear as it is, isn't it? You are looking at it not from that standpoint, right standpoint. The right standpoint or the right angle of looking is such which makes you to see as it is. But there is a wrong angle. Angle wrong means a wrong distance, wrong angle of looking. There, the thing, instead of appearing as it is, it appears differently. It is natural. It has to appear. What else can we do? What else can it happen? So, when you look at it from a wrong angle, it appears different from what it really is. So, similarly, here, Atma, we are not seeing Atma as standing Atma. See, if you look at yourself as yourself, see the difference. If you look at the Atma standing as Atma, you will see it as Atma. If you look at it something little outside Atma, if you look at yourself little outside Atma, then you don't look as yourself, you look as somebody else. Isn't it? This is what is mistake. You are not looking at yourself while standing as Atma, you are looking at as little Anatma. Anatma means something other than Atma. So, the very thought of little other than Atma is Adhyasa. Adhyasa means what? It is an assumption. Anything wrong is only an assumption. A reality is a reality. Reality is not an assumption. Reality is the thing as it is. Assumption is leaving out what it is. You just look at differently, slightly deviation. So the wrong standpoint, see, two things are there. Wrong standpoint is Anatma. Anatma is wrong standpoint, and the way it appears is also wrong standpoint. See, other than Atma itself is wrong, because other than Atma doesn't exist. Something other than Atma doesn't exist. That's why you take that which doesn't exist. You take a standpoint of that which does not exist. Therefore, what is it? What doesn't exist, you assume. That's why we call it Adhyasa. Adhyasa means what it is not, you assume that. And not only you assume that, and you take that as a standpoint and look at yourself. You look at yourself from others. The thought of others itself is Anatma. The very thought of others is Anatma, and from others' standpoints you look at yourself. The simple question is, why do you look at yourself from others? Others themselves are not you. Others themselves are not you. Why do you look at yourself through others? Others naturally look like others alone. Other standpoint itself means it is not you, means it is not real you, it is a wrong you. It is a wrong person. Then from the wrong person, you appear wrongly. How does the other person know what is in your mind? What is in your mind, what you are, how do you expect others to know? Because others see as others alone. Others don't see as yourself. See, do others see as yourself? They cannot see. That's why they are others. If they could see as you see, then they would be yourself. Isn't it? Then they would be yourself. So others cannot see as you see. Others cannot understand you as you understand yourself, because you alone can understand yourself. You alone can understand yourself, because nobody else can be in your place. You alone are in your place. You alone can see yourself as you are. This is the simple thing. And if you take as somebody, that somebody itself is wrong. It is an assumption. It is an assumption. It is other than you. Then once other than you, then you look like different. You look different from what you are. And once you look different from what you are, and you take that different appearance as real you, then you have a problem. Because you miss yourself, and you see yourself as somebody else, and that somebody appears as you, which is not real you. That somebody appears as you, which is not real you, then you will have to suffer. Oh my God, I am like this. If you look at the reflection in the mirror, reflection in the water, and start taking reflection is you, and reflection is not you exactly, it is somewhat different. Because reflection is shaped by the medium of reflection. The reflection is shaped by the medium of reflection, though you are the basis. The reflection takes me as a basis, but it also adds some distortion. It is a surface medium. The medium surface, reflecting medium, the water or mirror, the reflecting medium also adds a little bit to it. You see in the reflection, your right hand looks as a left and left hand looks right. Common man can't see, but we sadhus can see, because our right hand is open. But you see in the recording, you can see my left hand is open. Here my right hand is open, but you see that it's my left hand is open. Because I am taking in a selfie mode. Selfie mode shows the reverse picture. So, the reflecting medium, like you see, the same cell phone in a selfie, they call it a selfie, but it is not selfie, it is another fee. I don't know what is that fee means. They say it is a selfie mode. It is not. Selfie means the self itself is made adjective, is called selfie. Okay. It is a self mode. No, it is self mode, but the picture it doesn't show self mode. It shows others mode. See, it doesn't show your own mode. Because right hand is open, right shoulder is open, but here it shows left shoulder is open. So the reflecting medium also adds some distortion. This is what we mean Adhyasa. Anything other than you is going to be wrong. It adds some mischief. It adds some mistake. Now what is the right way? See exactly as you are. Never use a reflecting medium. Never use selfie mode. Then what is the mode? Don't use any mode. You are you. No cell phone can show you what you are. You alone are yourself. Nobody can show you. Why does anybody has to show you? You don't see others. Because if you look at the mirror is showing you. Can the mirror show me? Can the mirror show me more than what I am? Mirror can't show me. Mirror is a second hand. I have to see myself. This is what it is. The other standpoint is avidya. Correcting it, coming back to yourself is vidya. It is as simple as this. I tell you. Vedanta talks of our anubhava. It is simple like this. So any misunderstanding, you may say for misunderstanding you have to take another standpoint. But where is another? In Atma being an Advitiyam, Atma is indivisible, non-dual consciousness. There is no other. To take a standpoint, the other doesn't exist. All the standpoints are me. All the standpoints are me alone, because there is nothing other than me. True. The other is also an assumed other. because other doesn't exist. In reality, other doesn't exist. Therefore, if you say any standpoint is in reality, it is your standpoint alone. All standpoints are in reality you, but tentatively it appears during misunderstanding that you are taking other. The other is a tentatively imposed other. It reality doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in reality. The other itself is an assumed one, imposed one, and that imposed standpoint you take and you look as if you are different. I say as if because there is no other real. There is no real other. Other itself doesn't exist. In fact, the idea of other itself doesn't exist. But you think that I have taken the other standpoint, even that is Adhyasa. From Adhyasa alone you take an Adhyasa standpoint. Taking an Adhyasa standpoint itself is Adhyasa. See, this is the most important thing you have to watch. Even the Adhyasa is from Adhyasa standpoint alone. Ultimately, there is no even Adhyasa. Adhyasa is also from Adhyasa standpoint. That means in reality, no Adhyasa possible. Reality is ever reality. This is what is Jnanam. If this people want to know what is Adhyasa, more you try to know, Adhyasa disappears. See, if you more, why do we discuss Adhyasa so much? Teach directly Brahma. Some people say, why are you discussing Avidya so much? Teach Brahman directly. Brahman can't be taught. Then why are you teaching Avidya? Avidya we are not teaching. We are pointing out again and again, more and more and more. You see, you come to understand Adhyasa itself doesn't exist. The misunderstanding itself is a wrong. Wrong is wrong. See, the misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. Ultimately, there is no misunderstanding and nothing. You remain Brahman. So this is the very nature of Avidya. More you try to understand, more it disappears. You try to question, you analyze, you observe, it disappears. Why disappears? You understand that it never existed. This is Vedanta. We discuss Adhyasa, we discuss Avidya not because it exists, but only to show how Avidya doesn't exist. How Adhyasa doesn't exist is a fact. You come to discover by analyzing the misunderstanding, you come to discover the fact. You can't understand the misunderstanding because misunderstanding is not an understanding. Any understanding is true to the fact. Misunderstanding doesn't have a basis. It can't stand because misunderstanding doesn't have a corresponding reality. It doesn't have a corresponding truth. It doesn't have a corresponding truth, therefore it cannot stand. You more try to observe and watch it, examine, it disappears. Disappears in the sense, it doesn't exist at all. You come to reality. Once you come to reality, misunderstanding is not there. Therefore, the very understanding of Avidya means Avidya doesn't exist. This is Vedanta. Vedanta is not trying to prove how Adhyasa takes place. It is not trying to prove how Avidya is. It is by examining more and more, Avidya doesn't exist. There is only reality. No misunderstanding. There is no imposition at all. In fact, this non-examination alone is Avidya. You have not examined, therefore it looks that you don't know. It looks as if you don't know. Because the don't know itself is a state of unexamined state. Unexamined state. Avidya means unexamined state, a state of misunderstanding. You have not examined it. You have taken for granted and continue it in the same thing. Now you start examining, you don't find any Adhyasa at all. If you examine, you come to the reality. Once you know the reality, then everything is not gone. No problem at all. So this is how Vedanta Vidya Avidya. Therefore, Vidya Avidya is also a part of teaching method. We are not teaching that there is Avidya and there is Vidya. Vidya, Avidya, ignorance and knowledge constitute the part of teaching. The part of teaching method. We are not teaching Avidya because Avidya is a teaching method. It is not an object of teaching. See, you use a method to teach something. You use a car, you board the car to reach a place. If suppose the car goes and halts at some point, you think that, oh, car has stopped, you reached the destination. No, still you are on the way. Still you are in the car alone. Therefore this Vidya, Avidya is still in the car alone. It is not the Atma. In the real Atma, this passage, this road, this traveling, all that won't exist. So the method of teaching, the method of teaching sees us in the culmination of the truth, in the discovery of the truth. All teaching, method of teaching, the explanations, standpoints taken for teaching, all that get dissolved. Because in the ultimate truth, all the teaching gets negated. So teaching is a method. Method is also part of Adhyasa. The method which we use is also part of Adhyasa. The real reality, the real truth is beyond all the teaching methods. Therefore, now we are discussing Atyanta Viviktayoh Dharma Dharminoh. The reality is totally free from Adhyasa. Your real nature of Atma doesn't know what is misunderstanding. It doesn't know samsara. Atma doesn't know samsara. Atma is always free from samsara. Okay? Atma by its nature is free from samsara. Atyanta Viviktayoh. Vivikta means what? Anatma is Adhyasta. Atma is pure, no Adhyasa. Therefore, Adhyasta Anatma and real Atma, they get mixed up. Means one is the reality, another is a misunderstanding. So reality and misunderstanding get mixed up. Viviktayor dharma dharminoh itaretara avivekena. Inability to distinguish these between two. That means an unexamined state. Aviveka means what? An unexamined state is aviveka. We have not examined yet. So, viviktayor itaretara avivekena hi adhyaso bhavati. So, in that state of unexamined state, you find the misunderstanding. You find the misunderstanding when you have not yet examined. When you start examining, the Adhyasa seems to give way. More and more you examine, Adhyasa doesn't seem to exist at all. Ultimately, when the examination is complete, no Adhyasa. Oh, then you say, you told there is Avidya. Avidya is as long as you don't think. When you start thinking, there is no Avidya. We are not trying to prove ultimately there is Avidya. There is no such thing called Avidya. Avidya is also a part of misunderstanding alone. Okay. Therefore, tad viparyayena tayor anyonya vivekena. Opposite to this, what is aviveka? Aviveka means unexamined state. Then what is opposite to aviveka? Viveka means examining. There is a state of unexamined state. Opposite to that is an examining. Therefore, tad viparyayena tayor anyonya vivekena. You examine them. What is really existing and what appears to be existing but that doesn't exist. See, what is really existing is Atma. What appears to exist but in fact it doesn't exist. But yet it appears. That is Anatma. Anatma is only tentative appearance of the same truth. Okay, Anatma itself is not a reality. So tayor anyonya vivekena satyanruta buddhi gocharatva pratipatya. Satya anruta buddhi. Satyam, there is a thought. There is a thought of reality. Anrutam, there is a thought of misunderstanding. So you have a thought of reality and a thought of a misunderstanding. These two thoughts get mixed up. Buddhi gocharatva pratipatya. Vastu swarupasya nirdharanam vidyam ahuhu. So, by examining these two thoughts, one is a thought of reality, thought of truth, and the thought of misunderstood truth. Anatma is not an entity by itself. The misunderstanding of the truth is Anatma. Thought of Atma is the satya vritti. Thought of Atma means what? I mean, thought of Atma means thought about Atma, thought about reality. You have a thought about reality. Another is you have a thought about misunderstanding of the reality. This is Anatma. Anatma is Anrutam. So, Anatma itself is not another entity parallel to Atma. Note this. Anatma or the world is not another entity parallel to Atma, additional to Atma. It is not an additional entity. Okay. Anatma is misunderstood. Atma is Anatma. So, the state of misunderstanding, that misunderstanding is also from the standpoint of misunderstanding alone, not from the reality again. That misunderstanding is also from the standpoint of misunderstanding alone. Okay, so iti vidyam ahuho. So when you discover that anatma is only a misunderstanding, even this misunderstanding is only a misunderstanding, it doesn't exist from the real standpoint. This is a atma, this is jnanam. Understanding misunderstanding also as from this misunderstanding, because assuming the misunderstanding alone, you have a misunderstanding, and that is an assumption. Misunderstanding is also assumption. So then ultimately Atma is free. Atma has neither misunderstanding nor you need to correct it. Neither misunderstanding nor correction, both of them don't exist in the real Atma. Therefore in Atma Jnanam you don't touch the Atma. That means you don't objectify Atma. You correct the misunderstanding, you disprove the misunderstanding. But how do you disprove? That misunderstanding doesn't exist. That is a disproving. Anatma doesn't exist. Misunderstanding doesn't exist. Calling it misunderstanding is a tentative step, a teaching step. It is not a reality. Anatma is there, Adhyasa is there. Even this is only a teaching step. People take the teaching step and argue, how can there be Anatma? Who created it? Oh my God. We are not telling that it is only a teaching step. Anatma, avidya, another standpoint, misunderstanding, these are teaching steps. They don't exist in the final truth. That's why we are calling it as a mithya. It's not an absolute truth, a final truth. Even the misunderstanding doesn't exist. See, misunderstanding itself is not a reality. Even the misunderstanding is from the misunderstanding alone. That means ultimately truth is ever free. Misunderstanding is from misunderstanding alone. When you say, what is the implication? It means truth is ever free. Misunderstanding is also misunderstanding. This statement has got a very important implication. What is the implication? Truth is ever free. Truth was never misunderstood. There was no state of misunderstanding and there is a state of correction. Otherwise people think there was a real state of misunderstanding and again you correct it is in another state. They think Atma really undergoes mistake and really gets corrected. This is what some people objected to Advaita. Dvaitins alone. They told if Atma misunderstands and later corrects itself, that means a misunderstanding is a state of Atma. Correction is another state of Atma. Then why should Atma have these two states? One of them is an Ajnana state. Why should Atma have an Ajnana? Oh, isn't it? Then Atma is subject to Ajnana. Atma undergoes that Ajnana. It is subject to Ajnana. No. That it is subject to Ajnana is also a misunderstanding alone. Atma has a misunderstanding is also from the misunderstanding. The real Atma is never subject to misunderstanding. The real Atma is ever free, ever pure. Okay, this is also important thing. Otherwise they think that really there is a state of Ajnana and later you correct it and later Jnana. So Ajnana, Jnana, are these two states really Atma undergoes? If Atma really is subjected to these two states, then there is no hope of freedom, permanent freedom. Because now you get rid of and again it comes, again get rid of, again it comes, now there won't be permanent solution. That's what some people say. This is what a stand some people say. Anyway, some school of philosophy like Arya Samaj, they take like that. We leave them, we don't go into details. Vastu Swarupasya Nirdharanam. So the Vastu Swarupa itself appears as a state of misunderstanding and the state of correction. State of misunderstanding, state of correction, both are Atma only. So from the Atma standpoint, neither exist. Same Atma seen as a two from the standpoint of again misunderstanding. See here how he says, Swamiji. Satyanruta buddhi gocharatva pratipatya vastu swarupasya nirdharanam. How do you determine the vastu? Vastu means reality, the truth. The truth is two ways you can say. The truth itself is subject to misunderstanding and truth itself is subject to correction. That means subject to, it can be misunderstood and it can be corrected. The same Atma is subject to two. How can the same Atma be subjected to two opposite things? The same Atma cannot have two opposite nature. Either it should have one or the other. Or it should have one after the other in a sequence. First it is a state of ignorance, next it is a state of jnana. If Atma undergoes these two states, then Atma doesn't become real Atma. Because Atma is subject to real suffering. Therefore, that misunderstanding or suffering is only from the standpoint of suffering. This proves that Atma is ever free. It has not undergone samsara. That it has undergone and that it has got rid of it, these two are kalpitam. Both are kalpitam. Kalpitam, imagined. Imagined means what? It doesn't exist. People think like this. When we say it is imagined, you think that is another vastu. Imagination means it doesn't exist. That's what it means simply. Imagination means it doesn't exist. That's what it is simply. Therefore, Satyanruta buddhigocharatva pratipatya vastu swarupa nirdharanam. How do you decide the nature of Atma? When you understand that misunderstanding is a standpoint of misunderstanding and correction. Misunderstanding, correction, both do not belong to the real nature of Atma. Real nature of Atma doesn't undergo a state of misunderstanding and state of correction. State of misunderstanding, state of correction, avidya, vidya, adhyasa and adhyasa nivritti, both do not pertain to the real nature of Atma. Both are imposed on Atma. When you take both are imposed on Atma, Atma is understood as ever free. This is jnana. This is the vastu swarupa nirdharanam. Vastu swarupa nirdharanam means determining the nature of reality. Or in other words, ascertaining the truth. How do you ascertain the truth? You understand that truth is ever truth. Truth is ever free from all complications, all problems. Therefore, even the so-called avidya and correction of avidya both do not pertain to the Atma. They are only part of teaching. Avidya, vidya are part of teaching. They don't pertain to the real nature of Atma. Vastu swarupam, real nature of Atma, avidya, vidya don't exist. Therefore they say, what does Vedanta say? What is avidya? Vedanta doesn't say there is avidya. Vedanta teaches you there is no avidya. You people unnecessarily take, Vedanta teaches avidya, vidya, adhyasa ide, there is adhyasa and there is correction and all these things. They are the tools of teaching. See, that vidya, avidya, all these are tools of teaching. They are not the fact of teaching, the truth which is taught. Therefore, we should see the difference between the tools, the method, the instruments of teaching. Vidya, avidya, all these ajnana, jnana, samsara, moksha, all these are tools of teaching. In the real reality, you are only Brahman, nothing else. No samsara, no bidugade, neither samsara nor getting released. You are already free. You are already free. There is a question of getting released, where you are already free. So therefore, this is what? Atma swarupa nirdharanam. We don't understand Atma is free from samsara, because to say that it is free from samsara, assumption, even that statement assumes that there was samsara and now you got released. But here Vedanta says neither you had samsara before nor you need a release. Because release from what? For samsara. But samsara you didn't have. Where is the question of release? That makes sense to me. Yes, that's what we mean. Therefore, neither samsara nor getting released. Both of them are irrelevant to Atma. Atma by nature is ever free. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha. If you understand this, this is Jnanam. This kind of understanding is Jnanam. Vastu Swarupasya Nirdharanam Vidyam Ahuhu Iti Yojaniyam Idam Satyam Idam Mithya Ayam Atma Ayam Anatma Iti Viveka Bhavadeva Etayoh Parasparasmata Paraspara Dharmatvancha Pratiyate. You come to understand there was an Adhyasa, as if there was Adhyasa, as if there was a misunderstanding for not knowing what. See,